Well, no, that's actually what you said.
Well, yeah, but every time you tell the story, I sound like a creepy weirdo.
Well, there's a reason for that.
What are you saying?
I think you know what I'm saying.
Well, I guess we'll just let them decide.
I guess so.
Gimme, 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 gimme that lovin'. Want you to let me get a cherry on top. I've got this feeling in my chest, a thumping. Gimme, 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 don't stop.
So Kelsey and I met in college. I was a freshman and she was a sophomore. Scandalous.
It was the talk of the town. The hot tea, if you will.
No one talked about it.
No one did.
We're not sure if we met in InterVarsity or at our church at the time. Either way, it was in ministry in some capacity. And I saw her and she was like this powerhouse and it was really impressive to me. And hot.
And I saw him and I was like, who is this weird 18-year-old that I don't even know?
I was 19. Oh no, I was 18.
You were 18. Creepy. In our last video, I shared a little bit about how I took some intentional time to pursue Jesus. And for me, that meant not dating anyone. So freshman 18-year-old Dane comes along and sits me down and says, listen, God told me to pursue you. And that's the part, comment right now if you think that's creepy or cute. Creepy or cute, just write it in the comments and let us know. I think that it was creepy. But I still married him, so it doesn't matter. So he said, God told me to pursue you. And I said, God told me not to date anyone. So one of us was wrong. I told Dane, don't wait for me. I don't really know you. So he waited 11 months to date me. And it was really hard a year, actually, because we were constantly trying to keep up really good boundaries. And so if we had been texting too much, he or I would say, oh, hey, we've been talking a lot this week. See you at church on Sunday. I also had a lot of really weird boundaries for myself that I just needed at the time. Things like not texting guys back past 10, and he would stop texting me if it got late. Things like never being alone with the guys, so we hung out in groups a lot. During that year, there were a lot of people that actually tried to pull me away from the boundaries that I had made that I needed. They tried to pull me away from the direction that I was heading with the Lord, saying things like, oh, you should stop your fast, or oh, you should be with me. And never once did Dane ask me to stop my fast. Never once did he ask me to turn back on my word that I had committed to. Instead, he pushed me towards Jesus. He helped me uphold my boundaries, and he helped me do them better than I think I might have been able to by myself. And it was in the face of that that I knew that this 18-year-old was someone special.
After 11 months, we went to Mongolian barbecue for our first date. I felt really accomplished, like I earned this moment. And so our date was a straight yeet. I felt good. I felt like I really earned this moment.
I got a prize.
So I earned my bounty from 11 months. Is that not better? I finally acquired my plunder.
Oh my gosh.
And I landed a date.
Dane, listen, you can't say things like that.
So after 11 months, finally squeezed one out. Our relationship wasn't as solid as I thought. You'd think that after 11 months of trying to be helpful and support our boundaries, just kidding, that was all great stuff. But after 11 long months, you'd think that, we were there. Like, we were set. But it wasn't like that.
We tried really hard not to emotionally date during those 11 months, and so there was a lot of stuff that, though it might have seemed like we should have been there in our relationship, we weren't, because we weren't actually dating before then.
And Kelsey was in a place of actually enjoying being single. So she kind of went on that first date because she felt bad for me. She wasn't about to just like, no, I don't think we can date.
We waited for 11 months, and it was so sweet. And I knew normal guys didn't do that, especially normal, 18-year-old
I was
thing.
19 at the time. Stop calling me 18.
You were, sorry. It wasn't a normal thing for someone to do, so I knew that there was something special about him, but I didn't necessarily want to be with him yet.
Which was beyond my comprehension. But
he was fine.
I understand after being in so many not great relationships and then experiencing singleness. Yeah, so I thought it was going to be just hitting the ground running, strong relationship, but we actually struggled a lot in that first 6 months. We spent probably half of our dating relationship apart. Even though we always kept God at the center of our relationship, there are times when we were just rethinking if we were really meant to be together.
Even though our families both love the Lord and are both wonderful examples of Scripture and what it means to practically follow the Lord, they do things a little bit differently, and so our family cultures kind of clashed a little bit, and mostly what we wanted for our future clashed a little bit. So one of the things I said early on was, hey, if you can't envision yourself moving overseas someday, we probably shouldn't date. And he said, well, can I think about it? It was things like that. It was questions of, how are we going to run our marriage? What is our future going to look like? Are we going to do ministry together? All of those things were big questions that we had to ask, and they were really important, and you shouldn't get married if you haven't asked those questions. Because we both knew that we were marrying a ministry partner and not just a spouse, there were a lot of things that we had to talk about and agree on before we could move forward.
And a couple of those things, just to put some skin on it, were women in ministry. I had a very traditional, conservative, complementarian background ideologically, and Kelsey was on the opposite end, more egalitarian than me. And if you want to learn more about that, you'll have to stay tuned for more of our videos. But that was a really tough journey for us, and I personally went through a lot of change ideologically, and I had to do hours and hours of study. A lot of times you don't hear about that side of relationship, figuring out where you compromise ideologically, what's closed-handed and what's open-handed in terms of things you believe. And obviously for us, what's closed-handed is that we love Jesus and we believe in his story. And for us, the story of Jesus and believing in his death and resurrection as sufficient for salvation was one of the few closed-handed things that we believe. Before anything else, we are followers of Jesus. Going into a relationship, we knew that and we believed that, we shared that in common, but there's still a lot of other issues we had to iron out.
And these things are important too because they help you kind of test the things you've been told your whole life, but you don't know why you believe it to be true. And so we studied scripture and got to ask the wise people around us, and we got to read books. And so it was kind of cool for us as adults to learn what we believe and why we believe it. After 2 years of dating and watching many people get married before us, he finally popped the question. Made a picture book with all of the seasons of our relationship. Maybe I'll show it to you at some point. He made this awesome book, and the last page of the book was him kneeling down with the ring in his hand in the same spot we were standing when I read the book. He cried a lot. I didn't cry.
It's very wrong. The more groundwork you lay for your relationship before getting married, the better. And the more you iron out those issues that you disagree on before you get married, the better. We were confident for a solid year before we got married that we wanted to be together for our lives. We were already there. We both know for a long time we wanted to get engaged and to get married. So we got engaged. I did the whole really impressive deal. We got married on September 2nd, 2017. After 5 months of being engaged, we don't mess around.
When you know, you know.
We had 400 people at our wedding and lots of presents, and that's really why we did that.
Just kidding. If you were at our wedding, we're so happy you were there.
So thank you, everyone, for coming.
Our wedding was just a giant party, and it was so fun, and everything about it was perfect.
Best day of our lives. So that's our story of our relationship together. It was a brief overview. There's lots of different things we could talk about with that. Some of the things are the specific ideological differences we had to wrestle through. If you have questions about that, comment below. Impurity in relationships, long-distance relationships, how to handle that, how to deal with your family culture and different values you have from growing up, and whatever other topics or questions you have, comment below. We'd love to talk about them. Any other questions you have or topics you want us to cover, comment below.
In our next video, we're going to tell you a little bit about our jobs, what it means to be a campus minister with InterVarsity Christian Fellowship, how that breaks down day by day, and what that looks like in big picture. So as always, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video, and we will see you next week.
My people.
Bye.